I've been working on Riverview since early September 2023, which I think might just make it one of the oldest Cities Skylines 2 cities still in active development. The city has survived all the patches and updates thrown at it, from the good to the bad and the downright ugly, and we're now sitting at around 170,000 people, a pretty healthy economy and a high average happiness level. But that doesn't mean Riverview is without its problems. It has some huge systemic issues that need immediate fixing. One of them being the Riverview Department of Education that manages public educational facilities in the metro area. Yeah, if you take a look here, the elementary and high school systems are pretty much on the brink of collapse. And while the fire hazard, the average fire hazard of 38% might not seem catastrophic, then just look how concentrated this is around the super dense downtown core. Like, more than 60,000 people live here, and it looks like a major fire would be an actual catastrophe. At least the city is safe. There's plenty of police coverage here, but I did win the mayor office on a platform of being tough on crime and plenty of corruption. So, since there's more than 25 new service buildings between the modern architecture and urban promenades content creator packs, now might just be the right time to try and alleviate some of these issues. Now, if you enjoy watching my content, then hitting the like button and maybe even commenting what you'd like to see in Riverview next is gonna go a very long way, so thank you. So let's jump straight into it, and I think I want to try and tackle the average fire hazard issue first, because that just seems like a ticking bomb waiting to explode. I'm gonna open Fire and Rescue, and I'm gonna filter for the new content creator packs, and we have three options, and one is very obvious for us. We have the small community firehouse with 4 engines, a slightly larger community fire station with 7 engines, and then we have a very compact urban fire station with 20 engines. So this seems to be perfectly built for the scenario that we are in. Also, if we compare the price to fire engine ratio between these two, this one definitely seems like the better bang for the buck solution. The big tricky part is going to be placing it, because this area is super dense, but I have located a small area in here alongside Bedford Street where I am going to have to demolish a few housing units, a few shops, but who cares? The property market here in Riverview is absolutely insane, so I think we'll manage. Get rid of these boys and get this one placed. And then for good measure, I'm just gonna zone a row house right here. That looks pretty good. Doesn't seem like it's too dramatically placed right here. We've got 2 upgrades available to us. The disaster response unit, which is mighty expensive, but it does specialize office space to coordinate rescue services. All right. And then we have the training tower, which basically makes the people working here more jacked. And we need jacked firefighters in this area. So we'll apply both upgrades, and then I think we're gonna zoom out a bit. We'll open our fire and rescue coverage map here, and then we're gonna hit play and see what kind of changes we can expect. So not only do we have a beautiful shade of green here, the average fire hazard across the entire metro area has dropped by more than 20%. So that was a very impressive implementation. It's not perfect yet. We still have some troublesome areas. The worst one being these suburbs up here in the northwestern part of the metro area. Not great coverage up here, and one of the reasons is that you can really only enter this area through this bridge way up north, or if you move south somewhere down here, there's an additional bridge here. So placing another small fire station to service this area is actually going to be pretty tricky. I don't want to place a station in these suburbs. That doesn't seem like the right thing to do. But maybe let's just see where we have an existing station. Fire and we don't have anything up here. So I think we're going to place it in North Caldwell alongside the Commercial Avenue here. I'm just going to disable the map. We're gonna select the packs here. I'm not gonna grab the urban one. We've already used that one and it would be overkill. I think I'm gonna grab the community firehouse. Very nice size. It kind of fits in with the lot sizes of the commercial establishments. And in fact, we have a completely empty space here which is perfect. So we're just gonna get that placed and check if we need any upgrades. We've got 3 available, a firehouse watchtower, and it's very nice that it kind of showcases is exactly the type of bonus we'll be seeing. We can reduce the forest fire hazard. Let's just see. I mean, that's pretty fitting for this area because we're right near the, you know, the foothills of these mountains where we have some pretty impressive spruce forests. So we're gonna do that upgrade. Yank. Then we can add a firehouse disaster facility, specialized rescue service workers search for survivors in collapsed buildings. I mean, sure. We're just spending money now. Firehouse garage extension with additional 4 vehicles. That's a no-brainer. Alright, I've let the game run while I place this, so it's gonna be interesting to see if the effect has already taken place. It has. So this is all green now, but since it's such a small area with so few people, I mean, I guess it did affect average fire hazard. It dropped from what, 17 to 15%, which is nice, but yeah. So that was a fairly simple fix, but I guess it's good to start out with the easy stuff because the next beast to tackle is gonna be education, and oh boy, I think we're gonna start with the high school situation. It seems a little more manageable, and I definitely kind of need a bit of a success story right now. So we need about 3,000 to 4,000 extra capacity, which we should be able to handle with 2 to 3 additional high schools. The elementary school situation, I mean, that's 20 additional schools. I don't want to look at it. I'm gonna close this. Anyways, let's take a look at the stuff we have available. We'll open education, filter for both of the content creator packs, and we have 2 nice additions to the game. We have the urban high school, which is pretty compact given the 800 student capacity, and it has a pretty sizable upgrade option as well. Then we have the modern high school with a 650 student capacity and additional upgrades. I think going with the urban one for starters is probably gonna be most logical here in Riverview. Now I just need to figure out the placement. Looking at the education map, our high schools are actually pretty spread out. We have one up in Northside, we have a couple here in the South Riverview neighborhoods, we have one over here in East Riverview, the second major city. And then, yeah, I guess that's it. But that also means we don't even have a high school here in New Chelsea, which is like the 3rd major city here in Riverview. So I think that would be a good place to start, also because we should have pretty decent public transportation to and from New Chelsea and the other major transit hubs. So the actual placement is a little tricky, but we can figure this out. So urban high school, let's see. I think this might be a pretty good spot. It's in downtown, but it's not in the very heart of downtown, so I'm not like demolishing a skyscraper or anything to place it. So we'll just get that down, get rid of a few trees. Actually, I am just gonna select it, and then I'm going to angle it towards the street here, Crest Street, instead of Laurel Lane. I think that makes more sense. 800 capacity and a very high efficiency, which is great, but I guess we can make this even better. Yeah, the extension wing adds 800 additional capacity and looks awesome. So that is a no-brainer. And the gym extension, I mean, everyone is gonna be jacked here in Riverview, so that is a no-brainer as well. You know, people are going to graduate from high school jacked, and then they're gonna become even more jacked when they become firefighters. And the addition of the New Chelsea High School, I think, actually made a pretty huge impact. I mean, we're right on this very, very tricky spot, but we're gonna add one more, and I know just the location because we need to use the more suburban high school from the modern architecture pack. So why not look to a dedicated suburb, Kendrick? In fact, I did add this specific school, I think, to Kendrick during the showcase video I did for Paradox with these packs, so it would be so fitting to place it out here. But I don't know if I'm actually gonna place it the exact same spot. I don't think I am. I think I'd rather just place it kind of back here near this hillside area. So I'm just gonna remove these alleys, kind of try and clean this area up a bit. It is pretty hilly, so maybe a bit of smooth. Yeah, that's not gonna do anything. I'm gonna have to cover the whole thing up with trees, so it doesn't even matter. Let's grab the high school, the modern high school. Gonna place that at the very center here. Yank, so we can get plenty of extensions in there. And before I place these upgrades or extensions, I'm just gonna flatten the terrain so that they are placed at around the same height as the main building. So as I said, 650 out of the gate, which is pretty nice, but it's gonna be the upgrades that make a bit of a difference here. So let's see if we add this one and enable oh, sorry, I'm just turning it on and off. Add one additional one. Maybe I can enable anarchy before I place it and giving me a bit more freedom. Yes, then I think I'm gonna place this one here and we'll get this building added in as well, the major one. And for good measure, let's get those mindfulness rooms in there. You know what happens in mindfulness rooms? People get jacked. Upgrade. And that actually works fairly well. It just needs a tiny bit of detailing to really play into this area. Let's see, it's the Kendrick High School. And a pretty decent efficiency as well, caused by the bloated service budgets. And this added 1350 after 3 upgrades. And I think aesthetically was a pretty nice addition to Kendrick. It certainly made the quote-unquote center of Kendrick a little more interesting. We also have a train connection going, so it should be pretty easy to reach. Let's check the overall statistics. I mean, that looks pretty good. We're not exactly future-proofing ourselves here, but I think this is good enough for us to start tackling the real issue. Although you have to remember that Riverview is an American-inspired city, so an underfunded public school system cannot possibly be the biggest issue. Instead, I think we should expand the Riverview Expressway so that we have around 16 or 18 lanes in total. You can already see the massive traffic bottlenecks here, and I'm sure this is going to spur further economic growth and urbanization. So what I'm kidding, guys, I'm just kidding. The issue is the lack of elementary schools, and you guys have pointed this out at every single chance you guys got, and I have been steadily ignoring it, so here I am. This is the funniest comment I've ever received. That is just so funny. Oh man, let's place some schools. I think, I mean, we need to place a lot, so we'll start way out here in Palmer Way. This is a new transit-oriented development we started recently. Still a bit of a construction site, but I think it would be fitting to place a bit of a small school out here. Let's just start by narrowing it down to our 2 packs so that we grab some new fresh assets. The urban elementary school, that's not gonna be for this particular spot here. We're gonna have to find something a little more urban. But the community elementary school is pretty much perfect because it has a very modern architecture, being from the modern architecture pack, so I think it fits pretty well with a transit-oriented development. That's so cool with the little train moving through here. I'm very happy with this train line we established. Anyways, disabling anarchy, actually enabling it so I don't remove all my custom surfaces, and then just getting that placed. Did clear out the trees, so that's perfect, and these assets look so beautiful. And just, man, just look at the scale of Riverview, New Chelsea, and East Riverview. Like the skyline, it almost looks like one continuous skyline from this angle. Pretty awesome. Anyways, upgrades, we certainly need upgrades. We've got an extension wing, adding a extra student capacity of 150. Nice. And then we have a community playground, which increases outdoor recreation. So we'll be adding that as well. I'll add that there and just remove this. And I mean, this has plenty of props and comes with a bit of parking, so I don't think we'll do any additional detailing here. A pretty good little addition, but obviously it didn't make much of a dent in our capacity issue, so we're gonna move a little further inwards towards East Riverview and build a big elementary school in this general suburban area here. Because if we check our statistics, or this map view rather, we don't really have any elementary schools to serve this area. So students have to kind of be spread out. So I think this would be a good spot. I don't want to build it next to the elevated train line. I imagine the noise would be pretty significant. So instead, we're going to place it alongside Primrose Street here. And once again, I don't want to place the urban elementary school. So I'm actually going to look beyond these two packs, and I think I'm going to look at some of the British schools, because we have two primary schools here, which I guess acts as elementary schools. And this suburban one, which does have a pretty large footprint, does have a 1,000 student capacity. And it's upgradable, so we definitely need to get this placed. So I'm thinking, actually, let me just enable snapping so that we can, and enable disable anarchy, sorry, so that I can just get it placed right here. And 1,000 spots got filled immediately, but let's add some upgrades. We've got a 500 student capacity extra classroom upgrade, so we'll definitely be adding that. And then we have a less substantial 50 student capacity extra classroom upgrade. I'll be adding that as well, of course. And a little detailing goes a long way, even though that really shouldn't be my focus right now. But just look at how nice the skyline is. I keep getting distracted. I'm just sitting here casually pumping out the schools, and look what popped up on my screen. Milestone 20 unlocked. You have reached the final milestone, giving us 500,000 Barbarinos, 27 development points, and 56 expansion permits. Wow, it's the final milestone after 671,000 experience. Anyways, after all that work, all we've managed to do is raise our capacity to 20,750, which is still 18,000 under capacity. And like I said, I'm not sure we're gonna reach the goal in this single episode, but I think we're going to kind of switch gears a bit and get some of the urban elementary schools placed, because they're pretty high capacity. And I think I have an idea of how we can place 2 of them relatively close to each other. So we have it here from the Urban Promenades pack, 1200 capacity, and it's upgradable. So I kind of want to place one here in East Riverview, because we don't actually have a school within the inner city area of the city anyways. And there is a spot here where all we'll be destroying is a few office buildings, which obviously sucks for those particular office buildings, but on the name of progress. And that is actually a really cool fit. Let's just zoom in here and see. East Riverview is actually pretty dense by now. It's a city on its own. Anyways, this building has some really nice upgrades, as I also tried to showcase in the showcase video for these 2 packs. So this one adds 500 extra student capacity, so we're definitely adding that. And then this upgrade here, I guess it helps make the students jacked. Not really, but we'll add it. The reason I'm adding it is that it's very distinctive. So this changes the entire roof structure, or at least makes it very, very distinctive, which means that I feel we can place 1 more of these. Not necessarily right here in East Riverview, but it doesn't have to be super far away, because like I said, it's a very distinctive look. So let's grab this second one and pan over to the southern parts of downtown Riverview, where we may just be able to squeeze this in somewhere in this area here. We have some buildings here that are acting a little weird, probably due to some changes to a certain mod on the PDX mod side, but there should be ample space here for an additional school. So I think this might need a bit of custom alignment. I think I'll align it at this far corner. Yoink. And then I am at the very least going to add the extension wing. That's just too good to pass on. And then if we're to make this even more distinct, I could grab a ploppable building, maybe like an office skyscraper of some sort, and just kind of splice that in. Or alternatively, let's see, one of these signature buildings here that are ploppable versions I can use. So if I add, actually, if I just flip this, let's see if this works. What if we add this one to the mix like that, and then we try and make sure it has a common color scheme and the extension as well. I mean, I swear I didn't plan for this, but I think this looks pretty good. At least it's like 2 very modern contemporary architectures stitched together. So I'm very happy with how that turned out. And this little intermission has nothing to do with the mission at hand, but I just want to showcase a cool little feature in the tree controller mod. So if you guys have been noticing, I have a lot of dead trees around, well, all of Riverview, because they were planted a long time ago. It is, as we talked about, a very old city. And I don't want to remove all the trees to try and replace them. So if we open up Tree Controller and we grab this Change Tree Age tool, we can get this circle selection mode. You can pick other modes as well. But if I then specify the ages of the trees that I want, and then we click an area like this, then just look at the change that made. It even works on the assets where the trees are basically props to a park. Oh man, that is a game changer. I knew this tool existed, but I just couldn't put the pieces together and figure out just how much of a use case it could be here in Riverview. Because I have so many dead trees. I mean, look at this area here. That's just completely revitalized. And of course you can add in saplings as well if you want like even more diversity in the age of the trees. But I think I prefer this. Oh man. So yeah, I pretty much went through all of Riverview, and this has really made Riverview the green city that I initially envisioned it to be. I hadn't thought about just how much of a visual difference it would make to have so many dead trees plotted around the map. And yet another school has been placed, this time with a different recoloring of the roof, a kind of custom design here, a bit of parking, and a small custom playground. And I don't know about you guys, but I kind of want to take a break from placing schools right now. We've actually reached about 25,000 capacity-wise, which I think is more than double where we started. So we're still not there yet, but we're in a much, much better position. But I kind of want to, you know, place down some of the other cool service buildings from these packs. The modern architecture pack is just filled with cool stuff, and I think we can fit quite a few of these into Riverview, since it's such a big area comprising 3 cities and a bunch of suburbs. And I've already selected this modern telecom building because in many cities it would probably look kind of generic, but it's very unique in you know, the Cities Skylines 2 context. So I want to place it somewhere where it's gonna stand out, which makes me think that I'm not gonna place it in Riverview because it already has a bunch of the signature skyscrapers and generally has the most distinct skyline, while at the same time having the biggest skyline. So maybe East Riverview is where we need the Riverview Telecom or broadcasting service headquarters, whatever we want to call this. I just need to find the perfect fit without demolishing too much. And maybe we could place it, we could squeeze it in right here next to the elevated train station. That would create a very dense look around this area. So I'm just gonna pause the game, and I'll have to get rid. Do I have to get rid of this parking lot? I'm just gonna try and relocate it as a start. I'll see if I can. I have road connection here. Can I flip it and have road connection to the corner? It seems I can. I'm just gonna push it as far away as I can, something like this. I'm gonna fix the surface, don't worry. Where did that telecom building go? There it is, and that seems to be a perfect fit. Just gonna enable snapping and see if that's easier. It probably is, actually, so we're just gonna get that placed, and obviously that has a very strong effect on much of the city. I wonder if it has... It doesn't have any upgrades, but it is a center for media broadcasting, telecommunications, and remote cellular networks. Increases the network carrying capacity. That makes a lot of sense. 50 employees seems a little low for a building like this, but whatever. We'll take it. The tiniest bit of detailing, we'll add one of these paths, just free form. And then I did promise just to clean up this surface a bit. So we'll bring it to around here and just make sure that there's ample access for the cars. There you go. And get rid of a few of these trees. And that is a very, very nice addition to the East Riverview skyline. And I also think that we're starting to have a situation here where if we wanted to expand East Riverview, we could move across the I-25 and start developing this into some higher or at least medium density developments. But that's probably for the future. Another incredible asset is the Modern Art Museum. And if you remember from the showcase, I had actually placed it, I think I placed it on this lot here in New Chelsea. And I think it looked very good, and I was able to get some pretty cool cinematics. But I just had a look over here in Riverview, and it's actually the perfect fit right in the heart of downtown next to the big parks. And these are some old parks, as you guys can see. These are just some, you know, some vanilla parks that I've kind of stitched together. It's a very, very old area from like the early days of the city. So of course it does feel a little weird to remove it, but I think replacing it with this type of development would be in the right spirit of Riverview, being a trying to be a world-class city at least. So now I just need to see how I should angle it or where to align it. Probably towards High Street, which is like the main street cutting through this area. So we're just gonna place this and let's have a look. Oh my, that is perfect. That is just an incredible addition to the Riverview downtown, and it's not my doing. It's of course Richard Shee who designed and developed these assets, but man, that looks good. Giving off some real big city vibes here. All right, so with that school in place, we are approaching 27,000 for elementary school capacity. So we're just gonna do a little checkup on some of the other services here in Riverview to see if something else is falling behind. I don't expect a change with fire and rescue still sitting at 15%. Anything else would surprise me because we haven't really done any expansions. Let's see our police coverage. Still a very, very low crime probability, which is great, but almost 65% crime success rate. Yeah, okay. So if you do commit a crime, there's a good chance you're getting away with it, which I guess is pretty bad, but the coverage seems pretty fine. So I don't think it makes much sense to build any more police stations right now, at least. Maybe down here somewhere between the South Riverview High School and South Side, because we do have a few areas here that are a little more crime-ridden, apparently. So there might be like a lack of coverage here, but otherwise it's looking pretty good. Let's have a look at healthcare. That's not great. I mean, it's in the green, so technically that's good, right? But 62% average health doesn't sound all that great. And if we look at like the actual map here, we see that we don't have a dedicated medical clinic or a hospital here in Southside, even though it's actually a pretty dense area. We have 14,000 residents in Southside alone. Part of that being due to some of the public housing projects down here. And I also noticed that this northern part of East Riverview, which is actually also, as you guys can see, very, very dense. Madison Dale is more than 4,000 people. We don't really have, we have the East Riverview Medical Center assigned to the district, but that facility is all the way down here, and it is assigned to, whoa. I think it's pretty much, is that, okay, so that's the entire side of the two rivers here, which is quite a big area. So we might need a small hospital or a medical clinic out here as well. So I figured we're gonna use the two new packs for this. Let's start with the clinic down here in Southside, which can be a little more suburban in nature. We're just gonna bring up healthcare and death care and filter for the two packs. So the modern hospital in the modern architecture pack with the 30 ambulances and a 300 patient capacity is probably a little overkill right now. At least I want to play something that's a little more condensed at first and see how that impacts our figures. And the Urban Medical Center from the Urban Promenades pack is even more jammed up, but it has a smaller footprint and a very, very nice contemporary downtown style. So I think we might actually use that over in East Riverview, which leaves us with the modern medical clinic, which has a 90 patient capacity and 5 ambulances. So I think we're just going to use this one. And I don't want too suburban a location, so preferably somewhere alongside Madison Street here, which is the main arterial cutting through Southside. And we've even got, so I might just place it here. It's going to cut slightly into a couple of row house homes, but they should just be, redeveloping, so it shouldn't really be much of a problem. Let's get that placed, and yeah, they will instantly rebuild. We have a couple of upgrades as well. A clinic center with an additional 20 patient capacity and a specialized treatment wing with 100 capacity. And I think we're just gonna add both of them to this building here. just like that, and then remove a tree or two, and then we'll move all the way over to East Riverview. So the ambulances are spawning instantly, meaning that there's probably there's definitely a need for this building over here, and this actually did bump the capacity up significantly, which is really nice because it's probably still much cheaper than running the actual hospital, despite the capacity now being like more than 65% of the hospital capacity, although the hospital can be upgraded as well. Anyways, let's move up here to Madison Dale and see if we can find a good location for the Urban Medical Center. Once again, I kind of want to try and place it alongside one of the main roads. Somewhere with decently low density. There's not really anything nice. I don't want to remove any of the major buildings here. So maybe I might be cheeky and actually just go for this empty lot here. So this is just a recreational area, like a small forest currently. But yeah, not anymore. And actually it fits in pretty well because it has this grass texture on top, which is like a real feature in the Urban Promenades pack. A 500 patient capacity, that is very impressive, but we can upgrade it with an additional 500. But that is, we're gonna do that? No, I don't think. I think I'll leave it without this upgrade, and then I'm just gonna add the ambulance, the additional ambulance depot. Yeah, and then we'll take it from there. And I don't think I'm going to make this specialize into a certain district. It's a very, very sizable building. It's practically a hospital if you go by the capacity and the amount of ambulances. So I'm just gonna try and see how it works out. If we just let this one cover the entire city, in theory, we'll see if any of the ambulances... We've got 60 ambulances with the upgrade. That's pretty crazy. Now it should probably come with a parking lot, at least a medium-sized one. So we're just gonna flatten a bit of the terrain here and remove a few additional trees to make room for this. Yeah, some real nice city planning we were doing here. But no, I mean, people, they need to be able to park here. Just getting rid of the trees, and then a tiny bit of terraforming so that the edge here isn't quite as dramatic. And there you have it. On second thoughts, a little more detailing might actually go a long way. I imagine we can build a little resting area back here where the patients can enjoy the good views of the river. Maybe that's gonna help them recover a tiny bit faster. So we're just gonna grab the surface here and probably just expand this one that's already a part of the building. It's not the most romantic looking surface if you're building a back area like this, but I guess it will do. Maybe a small fountain even out here. Let's see what we have available. Doesn't have to be an American fountain, sorry. Doesn't have to be part of any theme actually, just a fountain. Just something simple. This one, I think. Yeah, that's gonna work. And then a couple of benches. Once again, something... Oh, wait, we're gonna do something differently. We're gonna use Picker and grab one of the benches that is already a part of the building. I think that is gonna be a good fit. And we'll just play as a couple. We can always recolor these. That's even necessary. I don't think it is. We can add a few... I'm gonna enable Anarchy here, and then we can maybe add a few just around the... actual... It disappeared. Why did my fountain disappear? Well, I'll place one more then. Maybe something with prop culling or something. Not really sure. Super simple detailing, but if we were to add maybe a few paths as well, we could connect up to this area here because we have the Concord Park right next to it. We just need to move from up here, and then I'm just gonna move down like this. And let's see, if we grab our extra road tools, I want to remove this retaining wall and just add a key to the entire one side. That looks all right actually. And then we'll snap to this, and we'll, let's see, we'll snap and click disable snapping, because now we need to move underneath the structure of the bridge here without getting too close to the waterfront. And that should be pretty good. Otherwise we can use move it to just kind of clean that up a little bit. That shouldn't be an issue, and we'll create a crossing here. I think that's pretty fitting. Might even just have a small path that runs here and create another crossing. So a pretty good improvement, I think, to this area, that we're just getting a tiny bit of detailing in. So we're just gonna do a little terraforming here and see if I can grab the straight segment, move real close to the... We're gonna create a... Actually, I think I'm gonna create a pedestrian crossing here as well. Might add a traffic light even. And then the curve tool with snapping, so I can find the right spot. There we go. And then we just need to move through here as well. Something like this. And then I'm hopeful I can just smoothen this out a little bit without ruining the small quote-unquote staircase we built. Doesn't look like it's completely ruined, at least. And then just a few trees to cover up the side here. And then the imperfections, of course. I mean, by all accounts, very simple detailing, but even a bit of simple detailing adds a bit of character. So I'm interested in seeing if this has actually improved our general health level. It was 62%, and with the addition of these two buildings, it's actually jumped to 67. And I'm just gonna double check my statistics to make sure that it's not because that there's random jumps in our health level. If I can find... Is it under happiness? It is. No, it certainly seems like if we go for a 6-month time frame, it's been pretty steady in the early 60s, but with this probably the addition of the expanded clinic in Southside, and now this is with the addition of this clinic here in the northern parts of East Riverview. So very nice. So now that we have been improving the overall service coverage here in Riverview, I thought it would be fitting to at least wrap up with a bit of new development as well. And we have some healthy high demand for a couple of different zones. There's been an uptick in population as we've been improving our service coverage, but that also means that our unemployment rate is sitting at almost 24%, which is, that's just too high. So we're gonna utilize some of the office demand here, and it seems like we have the perfect storm. All current office buildings are occupied. We have a good tax environment for, I think we subsidize office development basically. Let's just see. Yeah, we have very low taxes for office complexes. And finally, but not least, we have a high skill labor availability. So there's two approaches we can take. We can zone some quote-unquote suburban office parks on the outskirts of town in the more suburban areas, or we can densify downtown Riverview, adding in more skyscrapers. And I think ultimately we're probably gonna have to do both to try and satisfy this demand, especially as we continue to grow the city. But that's not all gonna be feasible in this one episode. So we are gonna start with the suburban approach. And I have just the location. Oh, wait, here it is. Because near the Riverview Technical University, we already have this custom office park here. And it's a very good area of collaboration, because you have a steady stream of freshly educated students in some highly technical fields that you can employ, and you can collaborate on PhDs and all kinds of projects. So it's a pretty good environment for high-tech office companies to set up shop. And we do have these empty parcels of land here, that we can use. They pretty quickly turn into foothills of some of the mountain ranges here. So we have to, of course, be aware of that and try and respect a bit of the topography. But let's just get building. And I think we're just gonna go for the alley here and add some roundabouts as well, because I don't necessarily want the sidewalks. This is like a very, very suburban thing. It's not really supposed to be super walkable either. Not that there's gonna be high traffic anyways, but we'll give this a go. I think we're just gonna enable contour lines and branch out here. And then I'll just be building a very, very simple road layout, and we'll be manually plopping some low density office buildings that we feel are good fits out here. So we see the foothills, we're right on the edge here. So we're just gonna add a little curvature to this road, do something like this, maybe just connect from the roundabout. This probably needs a no snapping approach. Yoink. And that is very, very basic, but I think it's gonna do the job. So let's just get rid of the trees here, so we know what we're working with. Something like this. We'll add those in. You guys know that. You guys know that. All right. So office stuff. Right here, we're gonna expand this one. I'll try to prioritize level 5 because they should have more jobs. And let's just give this a go. Some of these are very, very large lots, which is awesome. But in those cases where they don't have surface parking as part of the lot, so this one has like a couple of spots here for the executives or the important middle managers as well. We'll probably need to reserve some space for a dedicated surface parking lot in that case. And that is going to be the case with many of these office buildings that are higher level because they're just more... They're still suburban and low density, but they are more dense than the low level counterparts, which has more surface parking. So for a building like this one, we can probably just plop that without adding additional surface parking because it actually has a decent amount of spaces anyways. And we'll add one more of those to just kind of break things up. I think we can drop it to level 4, see if we can find something else. Preferably a large lot size. This one is perfect. We'll just get that flipped. And we'll just jump into adding a few more of these as well as the parking lots. right, so it's 20 minutes past 9 in the morning, and the technical university parking lots are starting to fill up as people meet in for their classes of the day, which is always nice to see. As far as the suburban office park, it's a little boring, but I mean, that's kind of the design principle, apparently. They made sure to keep the grass well manicured and shortly cut. Probably added some toxic stuff as well to keep it this green and nice looking. We don't want any biodiversity in our super nice corporate environment. As far as the actual impact on the job count of the city, I mean, when you're working with a big city, then obviously adding 1,000 jobs or a couple of hundred jobs isn't going to make a huge impact, but I think we might get to 21.5 or 21% when all of these positions have been filled in. It did help that I added this combined area here, because this project has 193, 192, 182, 171 and 225 jobs respectively. So there's, you know, almost there's more than 1,000 jobs in this complex, which certainly does help. But I think it's a good start, and it was actually fun to build. And I think the overall area out here is really starting to carry its own theme. You can really see how most of this has been developed within the last, 20, 30 or 40 years, from the super modern housing units over here to the technical university and the adjacent office parks. And in general, just watching the rush hour traffic in a major city can be a pretty tranquil experience. I mean, I'm happy I'm not one of the guys stuck in these cars making my way to a corporate job, but it's fun to look at. So this is at the North Port, which obviously has a ton of workplaces, and it's pretty busy. It was more busy like an hour or two ago in game time at around 7 or 8. So it's kind of thinning out now, but still lots of traffic here. I wonder how many jobs. There's 13,000 jobs up here. Okay, so it's quite a bit. Just gonna do a little checkup of the I-25 as it cuts through Riverview. Oh, just look at the amount of traffic here. So if you were to try and optimize your city and make it as functionally good and sound as possible, you would obviously try to fix this. But I actually kind of like this real life traffic here, the queues we're getting. It's not completely gridlocked, so it doesn't grind the city to a halt, and it just makes the city feel more real. We've got, this is not safe for work. We'll move on. Lots of traffic here as well. A small queue is starting to kind of accumulate here on the River Drive. So this is, of course, the highway that we built pretty recently. Another crash here, not looking good. But it's pretty typical. People want to make it in time for their jobs because, they're at least willing to do dangerous maneuvers to get through their jobs. So that's always going to cause a few crashes and whatnot. Major queue down here. I probably need to redevelop this one. It is super wacky and it's cool looking, but man, what were the traffic planners thinking when they built this, right? Damn traffic planners. Gonna move on. Looking pretty all right here in the southern parts of the area, but people who commute from other cities to work in Riverview, if they work in Sterling or Barlow Ridge, then they obviously have a pretty easy commute to their workplaces because they're going to get off at this intersection here, so that's pretty early on. But I think that's gonna be a wrap for the random flying around segment and this episode overall. A lot of fun returning here to Riverview. I don't know if you guys have been able to tell, but I've invested in a pretty serious hardware upgrade, and the city is just running smooth as butter more or less now, which is fantastic. Don't know about you guys, but when things start getting chubby or laggy, it can sort of interfere with my enjoyment of playing that particular city, which is a bit of a surprise because that really wasn't much of an issue for me in Cities Skylines 1. But I think it's just a testament to the fact that even though Cities 2 isn't as moddable as Cities 1 yet, with no custom assets, it just looks better out of the gate. So it's made me more interested in the management and simulation aspects, which should be obvious by this episode as well, because that's pretty much all we've been focused on. But yeah, good times ahead. And I think that the big investment in some new hardware was certainly worth it. But yeah, the ramble is going to end in just a few moments, I promise. Thank you guys so much for watching and for all the support. And as always, I hope to see you all in the next one. Goodbye.